God is good, and with each day that passes brings us a day closer to the launch of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. And today we'll be looking at Pantheon's October 2022 developer update that includes information from the latest pre-alpha, a new dungeon known as Sevil Manor, and get a look at our first underwater area. Now, let's kick off with the pre-alpha information they spoke about. First of all, this was the first time that the game was tested on their network code. Over 500 pre-alpha testers were online at one time, in one zone, on one server, and it performed extremely well. When they ran into issues, they were able to apply hot patches quickly, which allowed players to immediately log directly back in. Overall, it was incredibly stable, especially considering it was the first test with the networking code. This alone is an incredible jump in progress. There is nothing more important to the first initial impression, which is sometimes the most important impression of an MMORPG than the performance. This sets the pace for the players to be able to enjoy the MMORPG. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is crushing this side of things. They also talked about how the darkness at night was incredibly immersive, with everyone needing torches or some sort of magical source to explore, and they discussed players getting lost and just how different the world is at night versus the day. The devs were out interacting with the community during pre-alpha, and Minus discussed how hundreds of players came together to overtake a powerful mob and how exciting it was to behold. This was a player-created event, and it was awesome to see how when there is a world being made here, how players will just find their own goals and make user-generated content. Some players were out climbing and exploring, others out gaining as many levels as they could and making their own adventures using the various systems within Pantheon. So overall, the latest pre-alpha session was a huge success, and their network held up like an absolute champ, even before they make it to the alpha goal line. They also announced they are eyeing their next test date, and they said the timeline is very tight, so we can expect it to be extremely soon. They also said that we can expect ramped up and closer testing sessions, and this is excellent news. More testing means progress is moving. Next up, they spoke about Sevil Manor, which we didn't get to see in-game graphics, let me warn you. It was mainly a lore piece with the concept art so we could get an idea for the place. First up, it's obviously a throwback to Unrest from EverQuest. They got inspiration from more than just Unrest for Sevil Manor though. Resident Evil was one mentioned. As for the lore, the manor was once home to a rich family. They were the envy of the Court of Lords at one point, but they were caught dealing in bribery and blackmail, and they started demanding horrible things from their workers of the manor. Laborers eventually got sick of the depravity and started a rebellion. Murder and aggression ensued, and they attempted to burn the manor to the ground. It is said that rain on that day refused to drop on the area, though it has been seen raining since, I would like to also mention. But it is an accursed place, haunted and full of secrets. Some say that something still lives in the manor, and it will be up to the players to discover its secrets if they can survive. Now, Sevil Manor is such a cool area, and I can't wait to see in-game footage and to explore it myself. I have to admit that this is likely going to be my favorite dungeon. Likely it will be full of undead, haunts, and creatures that stalk the night. We have seen them show their art and then what the in-game product looks like many times in the past, and we know they capture it perfectly. So you can expect this Sevil Manor will be a popular spot, just like Unrest in EverQuest, and a place that all players will likely want to experience at some point in their journey, and I'm all here for it. Lastly, they showed off this area in Wild's End, the area where halflings will begin their journey. Now, we had seen this area called the Well Pond a year ago, and this is what it looked like exactly 1 year ago. It's all gray box, and they're basically just setting the area up. Now we get to see the progress of this particular area, and the clip took us underwater to see just how vast this area is. Now remember that besides the dark Myrrh, who can breathe underwater, that you will need some sort of potion or magic to explore this deep. And also understand that they turned off the shading and the effect that causes things to get darker and murkier as you plunge down, because they just wanted us to see this as it really looks without those effects. So you have to use your imagination a bit for now for what it will really look like when you're diving down this deep. Also, there are flora and creatures that are not in this clip this is for terrain only. I think it is still mighty impressive in a world full of exploration. We have tremendous vertical terrain to explore with climbing. We have deep, dark dungeons, crypts, haunted locations to explore, and we will have underwater caves and temples as well. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is the wet dream for MMORPG fans who want to be immersed and spend hundreds or even thousands of hours just out exploring and learning the lore and uncovering its secrets. And I think the Well Pond is just another of the examples of how handcrafted locations made with love and care will be fun to go to and uncover for decades to come. Now, before I give my final thoughts on all of this, let's hear from the sponsors of this channel, and then I'll be back with more. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to the members of Napalm. They have strapped on their armor and are casting the spells of awesome by supporting this channel and keeping me full-time every month. Thank you so very much. And I think you are interested in becoming a member. You can do so by clicking join down below this video and pick a level that is right for you. And I would like to give a very special thank you to the Lords of Napalm, Bounty Code, Jared Woodhouse, Daimlos, Farthest Reach, Sparrow, Christopher Hensel, Random Rock, Roniel Mom, Zelik Lived, Vander, Gallerine Moonsong, What's the Takeaway, and Trips. Thank you for your highest tier membership. The most important thing from all of this I can say is that the scope of Pantheon is like nothing we have seen before. I can't put into words how impressive the locations, the possibilities, and the sense of adventure that the world of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is beholding. You can prepare, you can get excited all you want, but nothing can actually prepare you for the overwhelming world that they are creating. I can't speak beyond what they show and what they allow due to the NDA, but I can tell you this. There is a reason that the pre-alpha testers are so adamant, so sure, so excited, and why they defend this MMO so vehemently. It's because we've experienced a piece of this magic, and it is breathtaking. I am very impressed with their latest pre-alpha testing, and I've spoke on it many times. They need great performance. It's the first impression of an MMO when people try it out. It's a very basic principle. The game needs to run smooth, and this requires a very sophisticated network code. And unfortunately, most MMORPGs don't get this right, and it's hard to layer features on top of a poor performing game. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is getting this right based on their last test, which is now confirmed. Over 500 people, one zone, one server ran great. Now, Pantheon is an open world game, but the server itself knows what a zone is, even if you, the player, can't distinguish it. Already, before alpha, this game is running really well. This is a huge deal, especially for an indie project. I mean, it would be a big deal if it were a huge company behind this, and I'm extremely proud of the Visionary Realms team, and they deserve a lot of credit for pulling this off. The manor looks amazing. Now, many people will not be as excited for this until we see the in-game graphics, and that's understandable. But for those of us who follow Pantheon extremely closely, we can read between the lines and imagine exactly how cool this place is going to be. As a paladin, this will be a regular place to find me on the server, slaying hordes of the undead and trying to find out every last piece of lore that they tuck away with the perception system, falling for traps, secret passageways, and all the things they are promising in this place. And lastly, I love the approach to underwater areas. Once again, underwater zones aren't new to MMOs. You have to zoom out a bit with your mind to really grasp how cool it is. Because unlike every other MMO, in Pantheon the exploration is fundamentally better. Climbing any surface is a game changer that you have to experience to really appreciate. It absolutely changes everything about the way you approach areas and situations. And to be honest, it's enough. But with underwater exploration, we get another side to explore, one that requires a different tool set, a different way of thinking and planning for adventurers to uncover. I hope you're as excited as I am, and if you aren't, trust me, one day you will be. If you always wanted a world and aren't content with just things to kill, to get loot, to kill other things, although I like that gameplay loop, I have to admit, and you want a place to get lost in, an immersive experience that you will create memories, a place that needs some thought and care, an MMO that just isn't making a fun game, but is creating an entire world for you and your friends. Some you already might know, and new ones that are out there for you to establish life lifelong relationships with as you try to conquer challenges the developers have made and handcrafted, and even more importantly, the ones you and your guild, you and your friends make for themselves. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is moving forward. More testing, more progress, more to show. And man, they got to move into alpha in 2023, no doubt. But the good news is, it's looking like they will. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you love MMORPGs, please consider subscribing to the channel. I would really appreciate it. And hit that like button. And until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming.